Welcome to One Life Club.
Thank you very much.
This is exciting. You are 21 years old,
Yeah.
doing amazing things. And we were just we just had a brief conversation before, and you said something interesting that you said, I was just an angry kid that wanted to do something better.
Yeah.
Will, tell us, what do you do better now? What exactly do you do?
We focus on delivering programs in schools and for young people that empower them to take leadership over their own lives.
Yes.
And then use that to create leadership in the communities.
Yes.
Across Australia and hopefully then across the world as well.
And you started that a couple of years ago.
Yeah. We started in 2018 as a 15-year-old in year 11.
Right. And see, the interesting thing is, so it's a business today.
Yeah.
But starting at age 15, a lot of 15-year-olds, they could start something and won't go too far. They would quit, give up. But obviously every start
I'm stubborn.
Every start of every journey is not easy.
No.
You kept moving step at a time. And 6 years later, I believe you are in many schools.
1,100 schools across the country, 50,000 young people every year.
So 1,100 schools, 50,000 people, 50,000 young kids or students are going through a program. How did it all start? What was the hardest part of you saying at age 15, which you don't have experience that you have today, at age 21, how did it all start?
I think it's probably important to start back to when I was 11, which was my first business. I started a business at 11. It was called Planepedia. It was the Wikipedia of planes.
Yes.
It was an aviation website. And over like 4 years, and that came from a frustration, right? My mums are always stressed at airports.
Yes.
And I seen that, and again, wanted to create a solution. But over the next 4 years, built up quite a brand. I partnered with Qantas and Singapore Airlines at 15. But I used all of them skills, and I considered that my apprenticeship to entrepreneurship, right?
Yes.
And then transferred all of that into starting YLA, Youth Leadership Academy. But still the hardest part of that is that as a 15-year-old, when you're trying to convince schools and convince older people or adults to trust a young person with their young people, there's that barrier of credibility. We don't have any established credibility.
Yes.
So there's literally me during recess, during lunch at school, cold calling every single school in Western Australia. I'm from Perth. And just picking up the phone was the hardest part.
Yes.
With a high-pitched voice.
Especially when you're 15, you don't have the confidence of somebody who's 21 or 30 or 44 like me.
There was no confidence, and that confidence only came through trying again.
Correct.
And I think once we delivered that first event, which was 5 schools and 65 young people in 2018 at a football club, and we seen the results from that event, that was a huge boost of confidence.
Yes.
But it was getting through that first event that was the hardest part. When there's not many people who believe, there's not many, and there's quite a few doubters, and then there's mum and dad who want me to pursue HR or university not because they don't believe in me, but because they want to keep me safe.
Yes, of course.
But then you get through that first event, and there is that spike. But then there's also the battle of ego. I started becoming this entrepreneur. And everything that I did was pinned against how I felt as an entrepreneur or how the business was going.
Yes. Over 6 years, what would you say was the hardest part of you actually scaling your business that started at such a young age, age 21? And you're not going to uni now, so this is your full-time gig?
Yeah, I have recently just finished my master's in business. I failed school, was told I would never go to uni. A year later, COVID started happening.
Yes.
And I did 2 things in that time, which are probably the fundamental 2 things that helped us scale.
Yes.
I started my master's in business and got a business coach.
Right.
They're the 2 very things, and I've had them for the past 3 years.
Yes.
And at the time, we were doing less than 6 figures. We were just about to hit it. And ever since then, it's like grown almost, in terms of impact numbers, by about 300% every year.
Yes.
But the biggest challenge was almost putting my ego behind me and remembering why we started.
I think that's the biggest problem with most businesses. Most business owners, they start with a purpose. And then when they start making really good money, unfortunately, ego gets on the way. That's why I always say, ladies, females, they have a better chance of succeeding in business when they dive deep into it, because they don't have that issues. It's us men quite often that we think we know it all, we know better, and we are more focused on us in the business instead of the end user, like you said, why we started. Because if you focus on delivering good outcome for the end user, that will follow with great results.
And it was like even though we were growing the numbers year on year on year, there was a lot of years there where our revenue was so related to events and in-person events.
Yes.
As soon as COVID happened, we almost lost 95% of it.
You can't do it anymore in person.
Exactly. So it was like, there was a solid few years there where it took me a serious amount of self-reflection to understand what do I need to do, where do I need to step.
But don't you think the COVID was the best thing to happen to you in such a young age?
Absolutely.
Because it made you creative.
Yeah.
Okay, I've created this machine that has grown. Now everything stopped. The entire world has been put on hold. So you had two choices. One, close it down, or how can I be more creative to actually still keep going, and you are today here.
And I think like there was them years that like the why was the most important, because there was no more important time than for young people to come together.
Yes.
And that's when we did get quite a competitive advantage, because when everyone was cancelling, we were coming up with new ways. We were hosting many events, many smaller events instead of the big ones. We grew very fast in that period.
What is the purpose of each event? What are you hoping for students to take away from it?
If we had one inside the event, it's for them to have a space where they can be ambitious with no limitations and understand their potential as a leader, and that they are a leader.
Yes.
Because we have this ethos and belief that leadership is subjective. Everyone defines it differently.
Yes.
And then when they leave the event, they actually take action on it, because I don't believe that any events, any things that happen, there's so many that happen and then nothing ever happens from it. I get really frustrated by that. So something that they take action for, whether it's action on themselves, action in their schools, or action in the community.
So one thing I always say, like this year, I think we had about 15 events, and our events are, 500 people or 1,000 people or 1,500 people. We just go crazy. First thing that I say when I'm speaking at any event, like you said exactly, my aim is for people when they leave this event to take action. Unfortunately, 95% of humans that go to any seminar, event, or whatever it is, they get motivated, inspired for a minute. 3 days later, motivation is gone and they're back to the same place. So they wasted really time being motivated and excited for a minute. So the key is, you can go to any event, you can meet amazing people like yourself or speakers that you bring. But the key is, how do you unlock that potential into somebody for them to take action and keep moving forward? I think that's the biggest key and skill that any young entrepreneur or young human needs to take. And so 50,000 people every year, that's not a small number.
No, that's not.
You're the only person in the business that is running it, or you got a team of people now?
We have a team of admin, event managers, and then also we have quite a few contractors who help us out and go into schools and deliver the programs.
Do you now focus more online or still in person?
Still in person, because what we know is that young people engage better when we create community within the spaces.
Yes, so they can actually network with each other, communicate with each other as well. Plans for scaling the business even further worldwide?
Worldwide, yes.
Worldwide?
Firstly, my biggest priority right now is regionally and rurally.
Yes.
I come from regional Western Australia. There's limited opportunities for young people, and I don't think that there's enough. They don't see a lot of success outside of their own families, maybe, and they don't have exposure to it. And if you don't see it, you often can't believe it.
Of course.
And we want to be able to bring that to them.
So clearly, you're passionate about making an impact in people's lives. It's not just about the money, because if you wanted to create business that is heavily just focused on making crazy money, you'd be probably creating a business where you can get a lot of money out of people that are actually in workplace as well, because you're focused on helping people get their lives another place, but specifically young people.
Yeah.
Because what's the average age?
15 to 18.
15 to 18.
Yeah. really pivotal moments for them to either decide if they want to take responsibility and ownership of where their life goes, or whether they want someone else to decide for them.
Yes, I think the biggest thing that people will be taking out of your community is people building their confidence, self-belief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because entire career, if somebody wants to start any kind of business, you got to have that fundamental strength within you. You know, you got to believe in yourself. You have to have enough confidence to say, hey, I'm going to do something and I'm going to back myself up to keep moving forward. And that's what you guys are offering more than anything.
100%. They need to be able to understand that they have the power to decide, and they get that through confidence. They get that through starting to take action and starting to step outside the comfort zone a little bit more, whether it's talking to someone new for the first time. And in a world where social media is taking over and the connection of people one-to-one or is getting less and less every day, I think connection and community, that alone is building their confidence more than anything else, because they're not being exposed to it as much anymore.
Young individual, 21 years old, entire world in front of you. But saying that, entire world in front of you, the time will go fast. Before you know it, you're going to be 31 years old. And you're going to be 41 years old. Time will go. What is the next 10 years looking for you?
I think for me, it's being able to set up this business as a charity and making sure that it thrives as a charity, because we know that not-for-profits often die because they're not successful, they're not business people running them. And then setting up another enterprise that fully supports not only young people, but also individuals who are struggling with that connection, that community. And also understanding that we don't have to sit in a job and stay in a job that we hate. We can go and explore other pathways. And entrepreneurship isn't only about business, it's also about solving problems. It's also about creating a life where you really love it.
Otherwise, before you know it, life will be over, and you can. There is so many people that are doing something they hate. They could be running their own business that they're not passionate about, or could be working for somebody else that they're not passionate about. And that quite often leads to being miserable at anything that you're doing, and it's keep beating yourself up because you're not happy. And the only way you can be happier if you make a change. Otherwise, what the hell is the point?
I remember it was late 2020. Everything that I had known about business was failing, so I felt like I was failing. And I was sitting there, and I hate winter. It was like 3 degrees one morning in Perth, and I was walking to the office. It was pitch black because I was working. I was a workaholic at the time. I was like, the only way I can cope with the stress and how I feel is through working more. And I was walking there, and I seen a flight to Cairns, and I booked it, turned around and packed my stuff and left Perth and travelled for 2 years, because I believe that if you don't change the way that you're thinking or what you're doing, your mindset will never change.
And look, your mind is your best friend and your biggest enemy. And it's really up to you or up to me which way we're going to let it go. And nothing can motivate you more than yourself, and nothing can beat you up more than your own mind as well. And quite often, I think we are all guilty creating a massive problem in our head from nothing that can be solved. And the reality is, whatever problems we are going through, we have to keep going through it and deal with it, because it's not going to solve itself. We got to keep pushing through. And but it's so good to see you, because to start something at age 15, and because that's a very crucial age, 15 to 21, because most people are focused on studying, and you have done that, and you have also creating something that makes an impact. And because you really had 2 jobs. One job is being a student in high school and then university. And then second thing, you have created this giant that is really looking after 50,000 students a year, and 1,000 schools that are part of it as well.
And the reason why we have been able to scale so far is because there was no one else in the industry that understood young people like our team. Because we were young people, we are young people, and now we still bring in more young people and develop a youth advisory board, because they're the ones who let us understand who our customer is, our user. And then we also have educator focus groups who help us understand our customer, which is schools.
Would you say that you running this you have learned more from running this than you did from university?
Oh,
Without saying anything bad about universities.
I've had many conversations at university, and I truly, like, in that time frame of choosing a business coach and doing university, the business coach taught me millions of times more.
Yes.
There was
and I think I think you're doing stuff yourself. You have learned lots more than anybody can teach you, any university can teach you, because you're diving deep into the business yourself, and you got to pay people now, and it's not easy to run.
And the lessons like flexibility, adapting to change that we learned during COVID. We ran a national tour in March 2021 where I'd have a spreadsheet of all of the state borders, and when they closed, I'd change one to red. And just managing that, and then we'd postpone one, and then the whole team would quickly re-meet. Yes. And the amount of borders that we navigated, like learning adaptability there, and then the resilience to still bounce back and create more revenue streams to protect the business off the back of that, understanding that this is a huge wake-up call for us.
Yes, a good training for everything that can potentially happen again in the future.
Exactly.
Because we are living in times that there is no such a thing as a safe business. Every business can be affected by what happened to us, COVID, financial crisis, or who knows what else can come in the future. Or at the moment, technology is changing constantly. AI is changing half of the things online. And so we have to constantly keep adapting and not be surprised.
Embrace the changes too.
Well, if you don't embrace the change, you'll be left behind.
I believe, from my perspective on education, if they don't start embracing things like AI, things like technology, they are falling behind every year more and more and more. And I don't think they're necessarily serving our young people as much as they should, which is what frustrates me the most. I have huge empathy for teachers and educators who are stuck in a system that isn't building up our young people as effective.
It's not relevant anymore.
Exactly.
What people was learning 20 years ago, and today times are changing. Would you say that you running this business for 5 years, one of the biggest things that you have learned, or biggest things that you got out of it as a young individual, one, being disciplined, because when you start something, you gotta keep moving with it. And two, really creating work ethic as a young individual. Would you say that's been two crucial part?
I think like the commitment and the discipline to keep going.
Yes.
Even when it's hard, even when it's difficult. And then also like the awareness that I have within myself now is huge, way more than what I had when I was 15, both part of maturing as a young person, as well as being a business owner.
Yes.
And then also the work ethic to keep going has been fundamental. But I think the biggest thing that I have learnt is where my limits are and how to get past them as well.
Yes. What would you say, what advice would you give any young individual that's 18, that's 21, that's 25, that is doing something and they want to create business on their own? What is the one advice you would give them?
Make friends with everyone.
I like that.
And like I have been incredibly blessed to be supported by so many people, but that's off the back of networking. That's off the back of, I had LinkedIn before I had Facebook because Mum wouldn't let me have Facebook, so I was like, okay, I'll start LinkedIn. and that I built an asset of a network there that allowed me to grow it allowed me to grow my personal brand and who I am to an extent where we are able to create massive impact. And I truly believe that the more money we have, the more impact that we can create as business owners and as entrepreneurs.
Does money make you happy?
No. I think it supports in everything that we do, but I believe freedom is my definition of success.
Correct. To do what you want and you want to do it.
And I think like obviously money supports that, and money supports the freedom part, but so does ownership and responsibility. I lived out of a suitcase for 2 years. I paid myself very little because I didn't need very much, and I'm very not materialistic in that way, and I could happily move to Bali and live on $150, $200 a week tomorrow.
Yes, and still have fun.
Still have fun.
Biggest success to me is being happy within. Everything else, I got so many cars. It's all irrelevant, because if I'm not happy individual, if I'm not grateful every morning that I wake up, I'm grateful that God has gave me ability to breathe. I'm healthy, and I got people that I love, that love me, and I'm doing things that make me happy. Everything else is irrelevant.
It's about the gratitude. Like how there's so much to be grateful for, and I truly believe that I'll wake up every single day happy to be alive, happy to be here, and also feel very blessed to be fulfilled with the work that I do
Yes.
and the life that I get to live, whether that be traveling, whether that be working, whether that be hanging out with incredible young people and seeing the potential of the future.
Yes.
I do have optimism for the future and where our world is heading, because I really, really believe in young people.
Do you think having access to so much information and so much noise is healthy for young individuals? What I mean by that is, look at social media. Unfortunately, we're all happy on social media.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see most of us talk about problems we're having, issues we're having. There's so much temptation out there. There's so much fake things out there. There's so many 25-year-olds that are literally taking photo in front of my Lamborghini, posting behind them like they own it.
Yeah.
And then a lot of young individuals that are really honest, that are trying so hard to maybe establish their business, they see, oh my God, this guy's 21 years old. He's got Ferrari, Lamborghini, and it's not even his, but it's looking good. Do you think all this noise is affecting where young individuals are going, or is it good for them?
I really get frustrated by this because there's a stat that's like in 1990, a 40-year-old has consumed as much information as a 7-year-old today.
I agree.
So, and I think that overloading of information creates fear, creates worry, creates
Yes.
this false realities like the car, the Lamborghini, and it is making young people compare more and more to where they are, to where someone else is.
Which is not healthy,
No.
because older you are, more you are developing yourself as a stronger individual, and the second you start comparing yourself, I can compare myself to my friend who is 100 times richer than me. What am I going to be miserable because I don't have an $80 million yacht? There's always, and then there's another bigger yacht and a bigger. So the second you start comparing yourself, you should be comparing yourself to yourself.
I've been in a race for the past 10 years with myself.
And best competition.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because you want to be a better person anymore.
The
But do you think
better person,
this is affecting people?
Yeah, 100%. It's like we know that how social media is having an impact on the brain of young people. We know it's not positive. We know
Yes.
that social media is an addiction.
Yes.
And it needs to be treated as such.
Yes.
I also think that banning social media isn't a realistic option. I think embracing it and creating education and designing a program that creates accountability for young people and ownership and responsibility is much more effective than any other banning or eliminating
I
method.
agree. One thing that we are doing with One Life Club, any young individual, the knowledge that we are passing to them and what we tell them, you want to be successful in any field, it's possible. But let's talk reality. It takes time. I'm not saying it's going to take 20 years or 10 years or 5 years. Whatever it takes, it takes. But in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of sacrifices for you to go from zero to hero. But what's very crucial, don't focus on your end goal. Focus on enjoying the journey. Because when you start at age 18 or 20, whatever age is when people start their businesses, you don't just think about, oh my God, I can't wait till I can be successful financially, or I can't wait till I have freedom.
Because you get there, everyone goes, "Is it nice?" and then they will leave.
Well, not just that. This might take 10 years, it might take 20, it might take 30. And you might die halfway through it. So enjoy the journey, buddy. Every single day, enjoy the hustle, enjoy the grind, enjoy trying to look for the solutions so business can survive. That's the juice.
It's chasing that fulfillment over success.
That is the juice. If you are focused just financially and money, trust me, there is no happiness there. If you're a happy individual, of course, money is the bonus to your freedom and you can be creative. Or if you don't want to spend money on yourself, go and help a million other people. You have ability to do that, or option to do that, I guess. It makes me really happy to see a young individual in a right direction. I'm much older than you. I'm 44, you're 21. But I was sitting where you're sitting 23 years ago. And one thing that I had, heart size of Mount Everest, and I had a clear vision where I wanted to go, and I had a clear understanding the price I'm going to have to pay for me to get to my goals, and I just went for it. And that is one advice I give to any young individual. If you want to do something, just have a clear vision and know why you're doing it.
Absolutely. Why?
then
That's the biggest thing. That's your fuel.
well, it's very important that you don't take, wrong, because if you just say, okay, I want to start this business just for the sake of the money, if you hit hard times, passion is not there, you fail. Nothing wrong failing if you in it, you get up and keep moving forward and learn from it and so on. But the art is to do it for the right reasons. You find the right reasons, passion will be there, and world is yours.
And there's been so many times where there's been that consideration of, is this it? Do I stop now?
Yeah.
Is this the wall? And I think the difference between what really successful or really fulfilled entrepreneurs is the ones that keep moving forward. In their months or them weeks that are really tough, if you can get through them, when you do get through them, the confidence then, again, goes up. You're going to increase your confidence.
Any advice I would give to young individual that's even younger than you, I would say, if you want to take entrepreneurship, you will be alone at times, and that's okay. That's okay, because you already have one best friend, and that is you within you. So, and if you choose to give it a go, do so, because you only have one life.
Yeah.
And the reality is one day you will be 90 years old and you're going to reflect on everything that happened in your life. And there's no rehearsal. There's no, let's start again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think that's highlighted enough. I don't think enough people understand that it is only one life and that there is one opportunity
when
to
you are
make it
20
fulfilled.
or 30, people don't see the end. And they think, I'm just living. But the reality is, the bullet that's going to kill you has already been fired. When will two of us go? It's a big question mark.
Yeah.
People die when they're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 80, and 100.
Yeah.
And where is our end? Only something up their nose.
No one knows.
So while we're here, use the time wisely.
And probably, I think that's the thing I'm most proud of, is every single day living it in alignment with my values and also that vision.
Yes.
And that has kept me understanding and also recognizing that this could be my last day.
Yes.
And I'm so proud of everything that I do today.
Exactly. And if you have to go tomorrow, you haven't wasted a day.
No, exactly. I mean, of course, there's things that I don't think I'll do differently, because the things that maybe are mistakes or have caused problems, they've been huge lessons and opportunities for growth. And I would have made the same mistake or lesson again before.
Well, to be honest, if you don't make mistakes, if you don't fail, what I mean fail, not completely, if little tasks that we give ourselves, if nothing happens, you're not doing anything.
Exactly. You're the one fighting the fight. And that's the same when you have critics. Like I have critics, we would have critics.
Get in a line.
Yeah, exactly.
Get in a line.
But we're the ones out here fighting the fight.
Get in a line, because while you are hating me or criticizing me, I'm not thinking about you for a second.
Yeah.
So I call myself winning, and you're wasting your time thinking about me, but I don't know who the hell you are. And energy is very crucial for us, that we put our energy in the right places. And if you're going to put it in the places where you don't mean well for other people whatsoever, it's a very sad, because if you can grab that energy and put it into useful things that are good for you, an individual would be a lot happier.
Yeah, and I also think a great friend of mine told me an analogy once about managing a team, and it's the fish rots from the head. And that's 100%. The same with energy. When you're managing a team, when you're managing a company, if your energy isn't there, you shouldn't expect anyone else to follow that or have their energy there either.
Got to lead by example. Wil, thank you. I look forward to a class after this. Kizzy has prepared where we're going to ask you a few questions so audience can really dig deep. But it's been a pleasure, and I freaking look forward to watching you over the next 20 years.
I'm excited to watch you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wil. Thank you. And thank you so much.